What's up, guys? Coach Vassar, thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in. Listen to me talk about these workouts. If you find value in them, information is in the description to support me. We're going to break down Wednesday, August 13th. This will also repeat Friday, the 29th. We're going to see power on the treads, strength on the rower, strength on the weight floor. 2G is a coach-led, time-based row run. 3G is just a typical 3G. As always, we'll talk about the 2G, break down the 3G, and then get on after it. On the treads, you'll hit the treads twice today, building on more aggressive all-outs each round as the effort gets shorter and recovery gets longer. The rower will see 2 blocks, same goal. Match your distance in 15 strokes while dropping your stroke rate each round. On the floor, both blocks start with strength. Block 1 challenges your core to resist rotation, while block 2 adds rotation to build strength through movement. You're going to have the benches in the upright bench set in 1, so the highest position. You'll need dumbbells, of course. Now, the way this one's going to be set up is after the 5-minute warm-up, the tread group actually is going to be on the rower. So after that 3-minute base row for the group over there, when you shut them down, I would encourage you to tell the treadmills to stop the treadmills and head to the rower and for them to get to their base row. Of course, leave wipes out prior, so it makes the transition a little bit quicker. Once they get onto the rower, we'll see a 3-minute block. They're going to do a 15-stroke row starting at 26 strokes per minute. They'll rack their handle, they'll rest. The next round, they'll do it at 24, 22, 20. Okay, 15-stroke row at 26 strokes per minute is just shy over 35 seconds or so. So realistically, if they do it right, they're only going to do 2, maybe 3 rows, and that's it. Especially if they are taking adequate rest after each row and allowing that water to stop to see total distance before they go off again. The way to kind of set this up for the members is the first row with that higher stroke rate, they don't have to have as much leg drive because the momentum will allow them to keep moving. But as they drop their stroke rate and they're more patient, they will have to drive back harder. So increase leg drive every round to make sure that they can match or improve on their distance. Also keep in mind with a lower stroke rate, there is more time for the water to do the work for them on that return, so they will be able to collect some more distance that way before they drive back again. Okay, now once they finish that, they'll have 90 seconds to get to the treadmill, and then the second block, which is the first block on the tread, is 6.5 minutes. They're going to start with a 30-second base into a 1-minute all-out. They have a 75-second walk recovery. They could get back to base when they're ready. Then they'll hit the base into a 45 all-out, then a 90-second walk recovery, and then a 30 base, 30 all-out. Now, the way this is set up is the walk recovery leads into the base, which also leads into that primer before the all-out. So they do get adequate rest after each all-out. So definitely that first one, aggressive for that 1 minute, and then every all-out shorter, so they should be able to maintain or increase it. And the goal is to increase the all-out intensity. So add in that 0.1 or more every round because they get more recovery, and that recovery also leads into a true flat road base to kind of prime the engine. Opportunity for the power walkers to get that incline up during that base, so that way they have it for the full duration of their all-out. Now after that third all-out of the first block, they're going to repeat all that. So they'll go back to the rower, they'll do that same row block again. I like to approach this of the idea of, hey, we're back to the rower. This is a new attempt. So this first row of block 2 for the rower sets a new distance for you to try to match your beat on the next 1 or 2 more extra rounds. When they go back, they'll be back to the treads one final time, and it's the exact same thing. So 30 base, 1 minute all out, 75 walk, base all out, walk, base all out, and then we're done. Now, in terms of the tread block total, they're going to see 23.5 minutes of total time for the rower treads. But of course, there's 6 minutes for the rower, and then there's that transition time. So for people doing marathon month, I would encourage them to not log in until they go back to the treadmills after the rower, because during that 90 seconds, technically it does count towards marathon month. So once they finish that 3-minute row block, they head up there, they could walk, they could get to base, they're collecting distance, yada, yada, yada. And then we're going to see a total of around 15 to 17 minutes of trackable distance for marathon month. Okay, it is a little grayish area because it depends on how quickly people get back up to the treadmills and whatnot, and so that's okay. Now, when we look at the weight floor side, we're going to see 2 blocks. Each block has two parts. The first part is a work and rest, where they go heavy enough where they need to recover after each movement with a rep range of anywhere from 6 to 10. We're going to have a upright bench seated shoulder press. So for that one, they are leaning back against the bench for more stability as they hit that overhead press. Then they're going to go into the single arm step out squat. If the weight is in the right arm, right leg steps out, the weight goes between the legs as they sit down into that squat and then stand back up. 3 to 5 one direction, 3 to 5 on the other. And then that pairs up with the bent over low row for 6 to 10 reps. As always, a great option for that is to go onto the strap to keep a neutral spine. They'll complete that for the first 8-ish minutes of their 11-minute block. When you cue the treads for their 90-second walk recovery, so after the 45 all out, 3, 2, walk it down, weight floor will then move into the buyout for block 1, where it's a anti-rotation circuit. They're going to see the bicycle press. So the standard bicycle press, where whichever arm is extended, the same leg is extended. Whichever arm is bent, that knee is bent, and then everything reciprocates and switches at the same time. They'll have 10 total reps there, and that pairs up with the low side plank leg lift. So from that side plank position, using the lateral glute to bring that leg straight up, right back down. If they do it right, it's a very small lift to target that lateral glute. We want to think about from a bird's eye view, from the head, shoulders, hips, knee, ankle, a straight line at the very least. A way to elevate that movement is that top leg, if you put into a slight hip extension and then lift, they'll get a little bit more gluteal contraction and they'll feel it a little bit more. Okay, so that is one thing to do for like an off mic challenge for the people is, you know, belly button drawn in, glutes are tight, but then they go into a slight hip extension so that leg comes back slightly, then they start lifting it. It's really going to light them up. Okay, they'll have that for about 2.5 minutes, and then they'll end the block there, 90 seconds to get set up, and then for the second block, same idea. We'll see that work and rest portion for the first 8 minutes, and then they have their buyout. Now for the work and rest, they'll have the alternating sumo deadlift. So they'll step out, hinge back, bring in, then the other side, and then a seated bicep curl. They are leaning back against that bench, reminiscent of that hammer curl that we did a couple weeks ago. So we are going to see that deeper stretch in the bicep, really increase range of motion, add challenge to that. And then they're going to do a rear foot elevated split squat. Those 3 movements they'll do, you know, moderate to heavy weight. And then for their buyout, it's going to be the body weight bicycle crunch paired with the low side plank thread the needle. So they're on the forearms on one side, one arm reaches up, that arm reaches through, they hit the same side again. Now we are focusing on rotation and twisting. They'll do those 2 movements until the finisher, which is going to be at the 10.5 minute mark for the block. They're going to do a 30-second bicycle crunch nonstop. And then they are done. Now when we look at the 3G side, we're going to see 2 blocks on the treadmills, 2 blocks on the rowers, and 1 long block on the weight floor. Tread side, it's going to be a total of 14.5 minutes of tread time for Marathon Month. They could clear out the screen at the start of the block 1, or that's when they could log in. And it's essentially the same blocks as the 2G. So the only difference, though, of course, is now the base is 45 seconds instead of 30, and the walk recoveries are shorter. So 45 base, 1 minute all out, 45 walk, and then the same base, 45 all out, 75 walk. So both of the walks do get shorter, but of course, when they're ready, they could get back to base, and before their next all out, they have that dedicated base interval as well. Block 2 is a complete repeat of block 1, so can they continue to increase the intensities as they repeat that pattern. Now that increase could be a situation of, once again, hey, what you did in block 1 doesn't matter anymore, we're going to repeat it, let's try something different. Or if you could keep adding to what you've done, great, you know. On the rower, we're going to see 2 blocks. They are set up the same way with a 15-stroke row, 26 strokes per minute. They'll decrease by 2 strokes every round, just like on the 2G, but now they're going to have a Y-bell exercise. So 6.5 minutes for 15 strokes, followed by the alternating step-out squat with the Y-bell. That is going to be in that goblet position as they step out, squat down, come back up, and then they're still there, then the other side. And then that's going to be paired up with the Y-bell bicep curl. Now with the Y-bell bicep curls, they'll be holding it on the side handle, so it's more of a hammer curl really, but 10 reps. And of course you have the med ball still. They'll squeeze in as they hit the 10 curls. On row challenges like this, where it is a distance challenge and it's strength-based, I like for people to check their distance after they've done the movement to make sure that the water has stopped, and that total distance is what they did, and now they're going to try to match or beat that every round. And of course, they're dropping the stroke rate every round too. On the weight floor, they're going to combine the 2 blocks of the work and rest. So we'll see shoulder press, rear foot elevated split squat, deadlift, and low row. So they do drop the bicep curl, and they do drop the step out squat because those are done over at the rower section. They'll repeat those 4 movements for the first 11.5 minutes or so, and then the final 2.5 minutes is when they'll go into their circuit. So that takes place during the launch of the 75-second walk recovery of block 2. So after the 45 all out, treads walk you down, weight floor, moving on to your buyout now. And after the buyout, they're going to see the bicycle press and the leg lift for the 2 minutes, and then the final 30 seconds they'll do bicycle crunches. Okay, and that will be the wrap up of the 3G. Once again, that's going to be Wednesday, August 13th. Repeats Friday, the 29th. Any feedback, let me know. Any comments, questions, concerns, give me that heads up. Otherwise, coach it down.